Recording. All right, all the buttons have been pushed.
All the buttons have been pushed, and here we are. We are live for episode 15 of the Georgie and Patty Show. So it's awesome to see people here for us to talk to, because we like it better when there's people for us to talk to. So we do really, really appreciate your support. And of course, if there's any other topics and more value we can bring to you, please let us know. But today we are talking about authenticity. So really being who you are in your business and what that looks like from our perspective, point of view, and opinion. As always, it's just our opinion. Take what works, ditch what doesn't. So my quote of the day is to listen to your heart and follow your truth, by the fabulous Robin Sharma. Dun, dun. Such a short quote. I feel like I just could keep talking, but you know, that's all you got. That's what you get today. That's what you get.
Kind of wraps up what we're going to talk about, doesn't it?
Right? Exactly.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow. Just kidding. We have so much more to say about this topic. So much more. It's like 5 minutes before you said it. Great minds. Great minds. So, all right, let's get this show.
Oh, you want me to share the slides? I'll share the slides.
Share the slides. Having a couple of days off has kind of made us a little slow on the go here, but we're getting back into it.
And by that, she means Patty is slow.
Yes, we are recording.
Excellent. Welcome to the Georgie and Patty Show with both of us on the slide. There's me. There's me off looking at the star. Okay. Our topic today is authenticity. And for those of you that were here earlier before we started officially recording, I disappeared for a moment and then I came back. And that's so because this is my opportunity to say I wrote a book on this topic. The U-shaped business, and it's all about being yourself. And authenticity, I believe, is one of the strongest marketing tools that we have. It's one of those terms that's really bandied about. It's almost lost its impact. And a lot of people's kind of idea of what authenticity is, maybe a little bit less than helpful. But today we're going to talk about the awesomeness of true authenticity, being yourself in business, basically, and what that can do for you. We have several permission slips for you today. The first one being this, be you. That is the essence of authenticity, is to show up as yourself. And it is, I recognize that this is one of those things that is super easy to say and a little bit more challenging to do. Speaking from my own experience, this is something that I battle myself. Is it okay to show up as me? Am I okay the way I am? Am I enough? And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person who's ever questioned that. Especially for those of us who want to be amazingly good at what we do, there's always something else to learn. And there's this constant feeling of, I'm not ready yet. I just need to, the number of times I've had clients tell me that they just need to take one more course. They just need to get one more certification. They're not quite ready yet to do their thing to help people. The permission slip today is that be yourself. You are okay and you are enough as you are right now. The real test here is, can you help people? And if you can help people, you're ready to go. And the way you are right now in this moment in time is enough. And when you get better and when you develop more skills and you are even more awesomer than you are right now, you will still be you. You'll still be okay, and you will still be enough. Do you want to add anything to that?
Exactly. I think it's no. I think we all go through those times where we have that feeling of, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm enough. And I think it's those little voices, right? What are people gonna say? What if they don't like me? And then being able to overcome those little voices and just be like, all right, I hear you. Thank you. And here we go.
Yeah. It's a little like, sometimes we can look and say, yeah, it's okay for those other people to be themselves because they're way more awesomer than me. Not true.
So true.
No, not true. Not true that they're more awesomer than
No,
you.
not true that they're more awesome than you. Such a true statement.
All right.
Well, I think this is where, it comes down to the way we look at business, right, and building relationships, is that when you show up as yourself, really authentic, then those relationships form, I think, faster. And they're also truer relationships. You don't have to backpedal trying to be like, oh, dang, I showed up in a way that wasn't actually me. I was trying to be something that I wasn't. And then when someone agrees to either work with you or partner with you or things like that, and you're like, oopsie, now I've got to keep being this person that I showed up as when it wasn't really who you are. And Patty and I were talking about that this morning, where it's like, when we started working together, it worked so well because we both showed up as who we are. If I had showed up and been like, oh yeah, I'm so awesome at systems, I got this stuff down, no problem, I can create our spreadsheets and that would have been a nightmare and a half. Because the reality is I don't work that way. I'm like, hey, no, that's not my strength. Here's what I'm good at, and I show up as me. So the relationship starts off on the right foot, and you're not always, trying to figure out how do I keep that mask on as you keep moving forward. And often it's not easy. I don't know if I've shared this story on here before, but when I was first had my space in US that I wanted to do connected conversations. And there was a guest that I was the first one I was doing. And this guest, I really, really wanted him to be my first conversation guest. So he agreed to have coffee with me. And all the way down there, I'm going, okay, Georgie, please, you need to play this cool. You need to, calm yourself down. You need to be more mellow, like just, and this all inside my head, please do not show up like you normally do. Like I'm trying to convince myself to be something different. So he would say yes to this conversation. So I'm like, okay, just breathe, just think about your professional. Like, please don't do this. I get in there, I see him, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad you said you'd have coffee with me because I really want to do this thing. And I really, really, really think you're awesome. And I really want you to be a guest on my show. And I'm thinking, you just blew that like right out the window. That's cool. Like all this is happening, right? But he's like, after 8 Shades of Red, he's like, I would love to. And it was so much easier actually because he said yes. And this is how I showed up. This is how I did the interview with him. This is how I show up on this show. I'm like, well, but it's me. And it was so much easier. And I realized if I had followed that line of thinking of trying to be, super professional, and not professional, but like, I'm just going to call it a little more uptight than I would normally be. I don't think it would have worked. So often I think it's who we are. And when we show up as who we are, that actually starts to attract people instead of being who we're not. It's way harder. I'm terrible at it. Clearly.
I think this is one of the advantages of getting older is you stop caring so much about what other people think and become a little bit more self-accepting. It's kind of like, okay, this is how I've been for 50 some years. Chances of me changing into some other kind of a personality, not so great. Maybe I should just make do with what I've got. And then, yes, there is this kind of ease to relationships. And, this is relationship, like if you want to look at your business relationships as not being that much different from your friendships or how you get along with people in your life outside of business, when you think about the relationships that you have socially, the ones that where you really feel connected with somebody, the friends that you feel closer to, are the ones that you let them see who you really are. You show up as yourself, and and you know that they're accepting you for who you are, and you're accepting them for who they are. And why should that be all that much different in business?
Exactly.
So at the core of all of this, as professional service providers, we work closely with our clients. And building this kind of trust and a good working relationship is easier when you're not trying to do it through the filter of trying to show up as somebody that you're actually not. That said, and we'll get to this later in the presentation, it's completely and totally okay to draw a line between how you show up professionally and how you would show up personally. They are clients, it is a business kind of setting. So when we talk about authenticity, you can be authentic and still behave in a different way business-wise as you would personally. It's not like it's a great marketing tactic to do jello shots with your clients. However, it might be.
Well, I think it goes back to the appropriateness of the context.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and that's kind of the question. There's a difference between authenticity and transparency. And transparency is another word that's often tossed around. And some people are incredibly transparent in their marketing, and it works for them to attract a following. But in some ways, the following is there because it's a little bit like following a train wreck. They're in some ways oversharing what's going on in their life, and we want to see that, but it doesn't necessarily build the kind of trust that we're looking for in a professional relationship. So something to keep in mind, you can show up as yourself without revealing everything, if that makes sense. Exactly. In fact, it's kind of a good idea to look at, okay, what are my attributes, and to pick some of the attributes that are naturally and authentically you, and kind of turn up the volume a little bit in how you show up in terms of your marketing and your branding. Who do you want to be known as? Who do you want to, what qualities do you have that you like, that are part of you, that are natural, that are authentic, and are the qualities that you want your clients to associate with you. So that can be a good exercise, and it's totally okay to focus on a few things without having to share everything.
Exactly.
I think that's all I wanted to say for that slide.
I like it.
All right.
Oh, my favorite, right? People do business with people who believe what you believe. And one of the best ways to convey that message is to show up as who you are, right? I think it goes back to that, really knowing what your values are, really knowing what matters to you, even to what Patty was saying, what are my natural authentic qualities, and how do I want to be represented as a professional? I don't maybe necessarily want to be in my bikini at the barbecue doing jello shots. Not sure that's so much representative of what I want for my business. Does that build trust? Does that convey, credibility? Can I be able to help you? Those kinds of things, right? It's like, what do you want to convey? But really knowing who you are, what you stand for. I think that's what Simon's talking about here, right? People are going to be attracted to people who believe what they believe. We believe in authentic businesses. We believe in providing value. We believe in creating environments where people feel like they matter. We believe in showing up as who you are. Our vibe or style or whatever you want to call it is much more, I would say, casual and comforting. We were talking about this the other day, right? It's kind of like a little den or like home. It's comfiness that we want to convey, right? Our stuff isn't really modern and really, suits and ties. That's not us. So we want to show up as who we are, so that the people who believe what we believe are attracted to us. And those who like the other things, that's amazing, but it really is finding those people who authentically can show up as they are. And that's the other thing too. I think when you're authentic, it allows the space for other people to show up as who they are. And then when those beliefs are matched and the values are matched, that's what you start to attract into your business. And those tend to be the clients you like to work with the best as well, right? So yeah, it all goes back to that sort of core of knowing too, who am I really? And I often think sometimes that takes a long time. Like, I'm just having this thought in my mind where sometimes we think about, oh, where am I doing things where it's just because I think I should be, or this is how I should show up. But it's really deep down, it's not, who I really am. Do I really care if I have a perfect lighting setup for my videos? not so much. I do care that you can see my face and that it's clear and that you can hear us, obviously. Um, and the super setup stage, not the biggest important thing for me. You know, even if some people say you should have it, for us, it's not a should.
And I think that this is that place where it's like in your opinion, right? And what you
Totally.
believe and what you stand for, right? It's like we believe that having perfect lighting and sound and high production quality videos is not as important as sharing a message that is useful and showing up as ourselves. Other people may believe that the production values of the content they're creating are very important and that all of the details matter and the lighting needs to be perfect and the branding needs to look a certain way. Um, and it's not that one is right and one is wrong. And this is where and we're going to talk about this later in today's presentation, but everything is an opinion. I mean, even when we talked just a few moments ago about this idea of bikini barbecues and jello shots, that could totally work if that was your thing. Like, I have no doubt, and I haven't Googled it, but I'm thinking that there's probably some life coach somewhere that offers coaching sessions at a barbecue doing jello shots. And then that's where the belief, like, that's how they show up. It's authentic to them. And they figured out a way to make that work. Like, it's attractive to the kinds of people that they want to attract. It's like however you are is fine. This is the permission slip. And in fact, sometimes when you kind of walk it out to the edges, it's what really sets you apart. Not necessarily constructing that, but if that's who you truly are, it could totally work. Uh, you know, it's marketing. It's very much about attracting attention of your future clients, of the people that you want to do business with, right?
Exactly. And I think I think it's a really good point that you say, right? One's not right or wrong. And I think often if we go to into our mind of being like, oh my God, um, bikinis and barbecues and jello shots, that's wrong. That's where we're starting to judge too, instead of being coming from that place of being accepting and being open, and where it's just like that wouldn't work for me because that's not who I am. However, that's awesome that she's rocking it. Like she's just doing amazing in her business because she's authentically showing up. So it's not about wronging someone else's behavior, how they're showing up. It's actually being able to, I think, accept that as well is really important, because I think as soon as we get into that spot of righting, wronging, from really harsh judgment, it doesn't do so well for us either. So yeah, I just wanted to say that because it's not like we're saying, ew, jello shots and bikinis, ew, how gross and disgusting. No, we're saying probably wouldn't work so well for us.
It
Just
could
sounds
totally
like
work for
that.
us. Can you imagine the videos? We would have no problem at all getting all of those subscribers, right?
I don't know. I think I'd have a problem putting the bikini on, but yeah.
I think too that when these judgments come up, right, it kind of points the direction of that's not right for me. Like if you
Exactly.
look at something and you go, wow, they're doing that wrong, I could totally do that. That is horrible. It's like, oh wow, more information. It's like,
Yeah.
that is not right for me. That doesn't fit for me. I should do something different.
Yeah. Oh my God. I have to think about that because I always say, anytime I say I would never do that, it almost always comes back to bite me at some point. So I'm just going to say at this point in time, I can't see myself putting a bikini on for our marketing stuff. Yeah. Not happening, Patty.
But this is a great segue. One of the number one questions that I get asked when I help people with the marketing, copy, messaging is how do I stand out from my competition? We've talked about this a few times. How do I stand out? How do I differentiate myself from what everyone else is doing? And the easy and obvious answer is to show up as yourself. It's this authenticity, uh, and it's talking about what you actually believe in. It, the whole video we did on leadership had a lot of this kind of element to it, right? It's like, what do I believe in? Who am I in terms of my personality? How would I approach this thing? How do I think things should be should be done? What are my opinions? What are my thoughts? What's my voice? What's my personality? It's like, yes, they can get, people can get marketing consulting from a lot of people. A lot of people do marketing consulting. A lot of people talk about the same kind of things that Georgie and I talk about, but you can only get it in the Georgie and Patty voice, in this way from us. It is the thing that makes us unique and different from anybody else. Even if somebody said the exact same words that we are saying, with the exact same advice, the exact same plans and processes and procedures, and the same kind of container for the services that were offered, they could copy every damn last thing that we do, right down to every word on our website. It would still not be coming from us. We would still be different. And this is, you don't have to craft this difference so much if you just embrace the fact that you are part of the product, and as you show up as yourself, this is part of what people are buying. It's a relationship with your client. They're buying access to you. They're buying hanging out with you. They're buying those conversations with you, and because of that, you already stand out. This is the easy access to standing out. And this, by the way, is why when you get done for you stuff that somebody else says, oh, this is proven to work, just take my email templates, take my ads, run all of this stuff, you don't have to do any work. It's not your voice. You lose that edge of authenticity. You shave off your own edges because of the cookie cutter. It doesn't work because it's not you. And I understand the appeal. I've purchased done for you stuff, and I take one look at it and I'm like, this is not how I would say it. This is not me. I cannot use this. So being you, having things in your own voice. The other thing I hear from people, everybody talks about the same stuff. I'm a coach and I'm talking about getting people unstuck. Everybody's talking about unstuck. How do I do this differently? And the thing is, what makes it different is coming from you. It's coming with your voice. It's coming with your personality. It's coming with your perspective and your experience. And we start unpacking all of the things that come that are different simply because it's coming from you. You'll see that, boom, you actually have a lot of points of distinction compared to others who do what you do. So authenticity solves the how do I stand out for my competitors issue without having to come up with clever program names or to change how things are done. It's totally possible to offer exactly what other people are offering, and it will be different and distinct because it comes from you. Attraction. This is the other place where authenticity comes in. And this is just the sad truth, is that some people won't like you. Some people will like you, and some people won't like you. And there's a good quote from this, and I can't remember who said it, but something about it's better to have people not like you for who you truly are than to have them like you for when you pretend to be somebody that you're not. So two truths here. One is that some people won't like you, and the other that some people will. And the more you turn the volume up on showing up as yourself, the more evident this will be. You will repel some people, and you will attract some people for no other reason than who you are. I'll give you a quick story here. A few years ago, I got a contact through my website from somebody who said, I just watched your video. I love the sound of your voice. I know I need to work with you. Which is an interesting kind of an email to receive. It's one of these clients falling out of the sky, basically. A video that I had published years ago on YouTube. She had dug it up and she'd watched it. I had no idea what video she was referring to. I have a few there. But basically, she says, I like the sound of your voice. When we got on the phone, she says, I just like the sound of your voice. I like listening to you. It's like, you're the person I want to work with. I'm like, that's really cool. That's nothing I have any control over. I sound like I sound. This is who I am, and this is just me talking, and she liked the sound of my voice. Example number one. Example number two. I was sitting in the boardroom with a person who had invited me to come in and talk to them. And they said that they had attended a networking event where I was a speaker. So they were in the audience. I was giving a presentation. She says, the whole time you were giving this presentation, she says, there was something about you that I didn't like. and playing over in my head was, I could never work with this chick. There's something about her that I don't like. She says, I don't know, it might have been the sound of your voice. And she was honest with me, about how B just as a human being landed with her. She didn't like me for some reason. It had nothing to do with my content. She did invite me to talk to her because she wasn't intrigued with what I was saying, but she didn't want to work with me because there was something about me that rubbed her the wrong way. This is how it works when you're authentic, and there's nothing you can do really about either side of this. It's like, other than trust, that there's something about you that will be magnetic to your right people, and be okay with the fact that some people are just not going to dig you for whatever reason.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're not saying that. I think you mentioned this earlier too about, it's still totally okay to want to improve your skills and those kinds of things, to learn new ways of being, learn new things you can teach people, learn new ways of speaking, all that kind of stuff. It's totally okay to want to improve yourself. We're not saying that, oh, I just have to be happy with who I am right this moment and never make any changes. And that if I want to make changes, it means I'm less than. I just want to make clear, we're not saying that at all, but it is about just embracing who you really are, being okay with where you are right now and who you are, and still quite totally fine to want to, grow, learn, and improve.
Yeah, and I would add to that there's a difference between growing and learning and improving, skills and things like that, versus trying to be somebody that you're not.
Totally.
Like trying to change your personality.
Totally.
You might learn some communication skills, but not necessarily going to change the personality that you've come with. Like, you have a personality, and some people are a little bit more serious and a little bit more business like, a little more what Georgie referred to earlier is uptight, than other people, and that works really, really, really well for them. Some people are a little bit more, warmer, caring, more empathetic, and that works really, really well for them. Some people are a little more unconventional, maybe a little bit creative, downright quirky, and that works really, really well for them. So it's not like, so if you happen to be a person who is mostly serious and takes things seriously and business-like, and you don't crack jokes all the time, and you have this way of showing up that's serious, trust me, it works. It's fine. You do not have to learn how to add humor to what you're doing. You do not have to pretend that you're Tony Robbins. You don't have to show up as somebody different. Your personality is just fine. You can make it work. And the people who enjoy that kind of personality will be attracted to that kind of personality. I've worked with so many different personalities over the years, and it's just like, it all works. It all works. We all attract the people that we're meant to serve. That is one of the beliefs that I have, is that like the world is a giant jigsaw puzzle. You are a piece. Your piece fits. It fits in exactly the way it's supposed to fit in. Your edges connect where your edges are meant to connect. And I see this as true for business as well. And those edges of your puzzle that connect, you're connecting to your future clients, you're connecting to your networking partners, you're connecting to people that you work with in your business as colleagues, as partners, as employees, however they show up. But your edges connect up nicely with these other edges. And this is another one of my beliefs, is kind of our mission to find out where our puzzle piece fits. This is how I see the world. And I think we all have a place. I think we're exactly perfect, exactly the way we are, that we fit, that we are needed, that we are necessary, that we are here for a reason. And that's one of the beliefs that I carry through all the work that I do with my clients. And it's just like, okay, how do we shine up your puzzle piece, and how do we figure out where it goes? Like, let's just do that.
Yeah, it's not about trying to put your piece, stick it in a spot where it doesn't belong.
Yeah. And too often that's the advice that we get.
Yeah.
You're too much this, you're not enough that. You have to be funnier. You have to be more polished. You need to dress differently. You need to look different. There are billion-dollar industries built on telling us that we're not enough the way we are and that we need to change. And I'm like, no.
We say BS to that.
Exactly. So there's your permission slip. You could fill in the blank for this one, whatever kind of advice you have received. You do not have to be blank. You do not have to be funnier. You do not have to be more businesslike or more casual. You do not have to be somebody that you are not. You do not have to be on Twitter.
Exactly. You do not have to be on Facebook.
Yes,
we love Facebook.
But you do not have to be different from the way that you are.
Exactly.
I put this slide in here because I like kittens. This is meant to be about trust. When we show up as ourselves, we automatically become more trustworthy. I think it's kind of an energetic thing, actually. We just show up differently, and people tend to trust us. When you're trying to be somebody that you're not, or something that you're not, you're faking it. You're not a real person, and I believe that you're putting up a barrier. That people can tell this. They can sense the incongruency. Here's a test for you. Have you ever looked at somebody's profile picture online, then met them at a networking event and thought, huh? Because the picture that they posted was highly photoshopped, very much out of date. It didn't really look like them. Maybe was, taken 20 years ago or something like that. That lack of congruency undermines trust. When you want how you show up on your website, how you show up in social media, how you show up in your engagement with the outside business world, you want that to match up with how you show up with clients. Because when you do that, that's what helps build the trust. They're like, oh, there's congruence here, and they might not be thinking, oh, this is very congruent. You sound like your website. Your picture looks like who you really are. Your voice sounds exactly the way it sounds when I'm talking on the phone with you. It's like these videos that Georgie and I are doing, we're just talking. There is no script. In my belief, that's more like it's like when you have an actual conversation with us. I'm willing to bet that the people who jump on a call with the two of us are not necessarily thinking, wow, this is just like being in person on the Georgie and Patty show. But there's a familiarity that shows up because we're not that much different when we're with clients than we are here. We listen more when we're with clients. That's the big difference. But otherwise, we sound the same. We look the same. The backgrounds behind our cameras are the same. And that is what we believe builds trust. It's like, you know what you're getting. You know what you're getting into. And there's not this, hang on, something's not right here, feeling that you get when that's missing. So it's not that something that people might be aware of, but what they're aware of is there's something about this that's off. I'm not feeling the trust and confidence that I expected to feel.
Yeah, and I think you're so right. I think it does happen so much so on that unconscious level, and that's where you kind of get that feeling of, yeah, I think just something's off here. or you get that feeling of, man, does this feel just right? I'm not even sure that I can explain it, but this just it feels right. And I think once you really start to pay attention to that and develop that inner knowing, I think things move quicker too.
Yeah. And it's so easy.
It's so easy.
Just be yourself, dear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. We have a slide that
Yeah.
says easy.
So easy.
One of the things that a commitment to being authentic does for you is it makes some decisions really easy. It's like it works or it doesn't. Somebody gives you a piece of advice and it fits or it doesn't. It's a lot easier just to say yes or no to things. It's like and it's not something that you have to do a lot of rational, logical kind of weighing the pros and cons of. It's more of just, yeah, it's like intuitive that something fits or it doesn't. The example we were chatting about before we got on the show today was there was a Facebook post in a group that we both belong to. It happened last week or over the weekend or something like that, where somebody was asking whether or not it's okay. They're looking for a rule to swear in your marketing. This is not something that you debate when you've decided that you're going to show up authentically. Either it's right for you or it's not. Do you swear when you work with clients? Then swear in your marketing. Do you not swear when you work with your clients? Then skip it in your marketing. And Mark Manson, who is probably the poster child for swearing in your marketing. What does he call his book? The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck?
Yeah. And everything is fucked.
Yeah, so that's the name of his book. He swears liberally all over his website, all over his newsletter, all of his correspondence is just littered with F-bombs. That's how he shows up. And people think that he got to where he got because of the swearing. It's like, oh, that's a tactic he is using. He is swearing, and that is working for him. People are controversial about whether or not he should do it, and that's why he gets all the attention. From my perspective, he's getting all the attention because he's just talking the way he talks, and he's showing up the way he shows up, and that is authentic to him. I haven't talked to the man, but I'm willing to bet that if I got on the phone with him, he would swear on the phone. I think from what I see in his writing, it's just part of how he talks. Another fellow, Alan Weiss, $1 Million Consulting, is on the polar opposite end of the spectrum, and he will go on and on and on about how unprofessional it is to use language like that and how intelligent people should have better choices of vocabulary, and he absolutely condemns anyone who speaks that way. And he would never speak that way, of course, in any of his stuff. Also, super successful, has an opinion, looks at it from a different perspective, but he's doing what's right for him. Mark's doing what's right for him. And it's just like, it becomes an easy choice. How do you show up when you're with your clients?
So true. And you're bang on. I have spoken to Mark Manson in person, and
of course you have.
and he does swear, and it's not like F-bomb. However, F-bombs are in his way of speaking. They just flow out of his mouth, and it doesn't seem weird because it is the way that he speaks. Yeah. And it's so interesting because when I first saw the first book, I thought, what a dumb book. I'm never buying that book. So stupid. Name that honestly, I had such a judgment about it. And then I saw him on some podcast. I didn't know who he was, but what he was saying, I was like, I love what he was saying. And the F-bombs didn't bother me as he was speaking because I liked what he was speaking. Then I bought the second book, loved the book, blah, blah, blah. The rest is history. But it's totally, that's just who he is. Like, it's so true.
And it creates that magnet, right?
Exactly.
It's like either you're okay with it or you're not. And it's magnetic because it's going to polarize some people. there are people who will never listen to a word he says because of the language that he uses, because that is the polar opposite of what they believe. They're repelled by it. They cannot stand hearing that word. And they're not going to have any part of it. And they have a lot of judgment. And he's pushing those people away. And then there's another group of people who are like, wow, how refreshing. Here's somebody who talks like I do.
Exactly.
He's keeping it real by talking in plain language.
Exactly. And I think the other side of that is, if he was doing it just as a gimmick, it wouldn't work, because it wouldn't be authentic and congruent to who he is.
And there are a million gazillion people who are doing it as a gimmick, who are following. The number of look-alike, sound-alike, let's put the F word in our book title, copycats are crazy. Like, there's a crazy number of people who really believes that that's why he was successful. So they're naming their books that, and it's just like, yeah, that it's not the gimmick. The fact is, he's got some good things to say, and he's a good writer. That has something to do with it too. Quality content.
Exactly. And he's showing up as who he is. It's real for him. It's very, very authentic. So that, combined with his skill, works really well. Go figure.
Go figure.
Go figure.
So to wrap it up with the final permission slip of the day, do what's right for you. Exactly. Do what's right for you. Show up as you.
Yeah, no one knows you better than you. So, and I think we're talking about this later this week about filtering advice, but it starts with, when you're getting information, is to really get clear about who you are, what you stand for, and what works for you. And then use this permission slip very liberally. It's totally fine. It's okay. And you can change your mind. If later you find out, or you decide, yeah, that's not working for me anymore, it's okay. It doesn't mean that you're inauthentic. It actually means that it worked at the time and now it doesn't. That's also part of being authentic. It's completely fine to change your mind when you learn something new, or gain a new perspective, or see things a little bit differently. It's really cool. And you don't have to justify that. You can use this permission slip, right? And you just do what you do. You do you. Do you. Build a U-shaped business. I know a good book by that name.
Oh my God, I was told I needed to be less friendly. We can, we should do a poll for this, Georgie. What is kind of like the worst kind of advice you've ever heard for, I was told the only way to market is time pressure, price reduced, sign up today. I was told to be less friendly. I was told to be more professional. I mean, I was told once that my boobs weren't perky enough for business.
Well, maybe not if you're the Jello shot bikini.
Sorry, perky enough. My partner would never take you seriously. I'm like, seriously? How can I take you seriously?
Oh my God, that's a great line. Like honestly, I'm so curious about what kind of business they do. Like, maybe it's Jello shots, maybe it's Hooters.
I have no idea. But the thing is, yeah, it's I don't fit into people's image of what a female business professional looks like. I don't do the hair and the makeup and the clothes and any of that stuff. It's not me. It's not authentic to me. I feel like a clown in a costume anytime I try. It's just not a good fit for me. And I decided quite a long time ago, it's like, people will accept me for who I am, and if they require all of that kind of adornment, they're going to need to work with somebody else. So I have, probably more than most people, actually had people tell me stuff to my face about how I was not good enough for how I showed up. Most people are more willing to kind of toe that expected line. I'm not. And because of that, I have taken a lot of flack. And I can also say very clearly that I've still managed to make money, even though I refuse to do something that is considered just an absolute requirement by, I would say, the vast majority of the population. So I'm not suggesting that my way is the easy way, or that everyone should do what I do. What I am saying is my lived experience is that it is polarizing, in that I know that I repel people because of how I show up. And at the same time, my best clients can at least overlook that.
Well, and I think it goes back to that authenticity thing. Do you know what I mean? Like what actually works for you? For me, like I like doing my hair and makeup because it gets me motivated and gets me doing things. Now it's so funny because when we're doing this leadership thing in Nepal in November, and so when I go there, I will not look like this, and I'll be completely fine with that. Do you know what I mean? It's because I can go either way. But even my mom, oh my gosh, she'll show a picture of me, and I was like, we were hiking or trekking, and she's like, "Who's that picture?" I'm like, "It's me." She goes, "Doesn't look like you. Why would you look like that?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, Mom, seriously?" Because that's, and I think that's part of that piece of you can be authentic in different ways, right? I'm authentic like this. I'm also authentic with crazy hair and no makeup and whatever clothes you want to call it, like the hiking kind of thing, sweating like a maniac because the reality is I sweat like crazy. So this would never work in that situation. Trying to maintain my hair super frizzy when it gets wet or damp. That's just the way it is. You know what I mean? All of that is very authentic to me. I like, hair and makeup and that kind of stuff sometimes, but not because someone tells me I should, but because I like it, how I feel about it, how it allows me to show up, and I think that's the big difference. It's not because, someone said I should show up like this. One day I might not. You never know. It depends on how I wake up in the morning or how much time I have also, right? It's like, oh, okay. If I was doing, let's say, my morning walk or exercise, and it came down to I either have to choose doing the walk or the exercise or putting on my hair and putting on my hair. I don't put, it's actually attached. But that's exactly hair. Or having time for hair and makeup, I'm going to pick the walk. And I would show up here with no hair and makeup because, well, I would have hair, but because that's more important, right? It's just true to what is. And I think that's what we're talking about today, right? What actually works for you, and being totally fine with it.
And being comfortable with it too.
Totally.
It's the other piece of it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's the big piece of it, which goes back to why am I doing these things that I'm doing? If I'm choosing to, well, I'm just not going to do hair and makeup because I want to tell you all to stick it, even though I feel super uncomfortable in the whole, you know what I mean? That doesn't work either. It's that that's where the gimmicky thing comes in. It's not authentic and true. Yeah, it's all that, who am I? What do I stand for me on my insides? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I I've got a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
I did the gimmicky thing a few years ago, but I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. But I went to a professional speakers conference and I wore my pajamas. That was a gimmicky thing to do, looking back. It was kind of like, it was my little protest about how women are expected to show up, and I'm like, I'm going to stick it to these people, and I'm going to show up in my pajamas and I'm going to see, and that was my, kind of my first experience with polarization. I had taken what I thought was Seth Godin's advice to be a purple cow, and decided to show up at a professional event wearing pajamas, and that was my gimmick for a while. I went to the event. It did polarize. Some people liked me. Some people crossed the room, but I continued to show up in pajamas and kind of make it a gimmick and a thing. But the reality is, it was not authentic to me. And this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the presentation about there's a line between who you are personally and who you are professionally. I would never show up in a client's office wearing pajamas. Personally, yes, I live in my pajamas. Would I show up at a client's office in pajamas? No. Do I go grocery shopping in pajamas? No. It didn't really fit. It was more of a gimmick. It did get people talking. And it did polarize, but not, it wasn't something where I go, wow, that was a really great idea for marketing. And looking back, it's like, yeah, because it was more gimmick than authentic. Although even now today, it's been years since I did that. I still occasionally run into somebody who knows me from that, because it is one of those things that word gets around. So I'm like, I think I met somebody like, did I meet somebody look just like you, used to wear pajamas to networking events? And I'm like, yeah, that was me. So that's the gimmick side of it.
But it's a great example, right? It's a great example. And I like here with this one too, right? I've had discussions about that as well, as how all women need to wear makeup when in business. I don't wear makeup and I'm not starting now. But I do put on business clothes, as for me, that puts me into a working frame of mind. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, we have a hand raise. Ooh, we haven't had a hand raise before.
Do we have a question?
Let's see. Is there a question?
I only swear occasionally, so I don't think I would use it in my marketing. Yeah. You if you share occasionally, you might occasionally swear in your marketing.
Exactly.
It's just pretty sure I've sworn on this on these broadcasts, because I do
today. Exactly. Yeah.
You're laughing. You're like, you swear all the time. You don't even hear it.
Yeah. No. I meant today you swore, but only because we were talking about Mark Manson. But it is very occasional.
Oh, it doesn't count when it's a quote.
Oh, it doesn't count if it's a quote. Okay. However, if you never, and I think this is actually perfect for authenticity, if you never, ever, ever, ever swore, you would have said the subtle art of not giving an F. Because people who never swear do that, right? But people who occasionally swear and those kinds of, it's an authentic thing. Yeah. My mom would say that awful F word. Yeah, that word, they were using that word. Oh, for sure. Any other questions, thoughts, comments, things about authenticity? And because I think the other thing about this too is as we share this stuff with each other and how we're feeling, it kind of brings it out in the open a little bit more, kind of makes it a little bit more authentic. It makes it a little bit easier to show up as ourselves. But it's like, oh, I've been feeling like this, or I've been feeling like that. I think that's the other part of being able to have these conversations and these dialogues about what's okay or not okay, and just be starting to build more and more acceptance, which starts to create more of those environments for other people to do the same, for other people to show up as who they really, really are. And I think we're starting to see some of that with the situation we're in now, with people being home more, not being able to go out and do so much stuff. There's a little bit of this stillness and this quiet that's starting to happen, which is a perfect time to really go back and reflect about, oh, what does really matter to me? What is really important to me? What do I actually stand for? Oh, if it's all of these things, so how am I showing up in my business? Am I truly being authentic? Am I showing up, living my values every day? Or am I trying to be something that I'm not? So I think when we have a little bit, often if we're so busy and we're rushing, we're like, I'll get to that reflection thing later. But I think now is a really great time when there's a little bit of time to just be like, hang on a second, how do I want to show up? And we've talked about this before with the leadership thing. now is the perfect time to show up as who you are, who you really, really are. Because I just believe the world needs who you are now more than ever, especially as service-based, purpose-driven, authentic professionals.
It's a unique time and space right now where, like, seriously, professional service business where you're working with clients, you don't need that many, and you can reach people all over the world. You don't have to conform and fit in like that. That's the way you blend in and don't get noticed. It's like it's easier to find your puzzle pieces now. It's just to show up, and it's like, here's my puzzle piece, and it's just like, and this is what we're doing, right, in our marketing and showing up as in our leadership, right? It's like, here I am. This is what I stand for. This is what I do. This is who I am. This is what I'm looking for. And it's kind of like you send up your little beacon, your own bat signal or whatever, to help people figure out where are their puzzle pieces. Like, where are the puzzle pieces that match your puzzle piece? It's a lovely point in time to be able to do this stuff. So yeah. And this is our topic today. This is our topic all week.
Yes.
We're going to be talking tomorrow about setting up a business that fits your life, that fits who you are. It's taking the authenticity beyond just the marketing stuff, but how you do business, how you offer your services, how you structure stuff. It's all open. It's all yours. You get to make it work the way it works for you. Talking about that tomorrow. Thursday, I'm going to interview Georgie. She's our special guest. So if you have any questions you would like to ask Georgie, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to ask her embarrassing questions and see what she says. And then on Friday, we're going to talk about using your authenticity, what you want, what you truly want for your life, as a filter for advice. And this is one of the things that we've been kind of batting around a lot between each other, is this idea that there's a lot of advice floating around that's really good for some people in some situations and really bad for others. And we're going to share some ways to discern what fits for you, what doesn't fit for you, based on who you are, but also where you're at in your business and everything else. So that's our theme for the week, is kind of the U-shaped business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I think you just summed up the perfect end. We're right a little over time, 2 minutes over time. Yeah, amazing. Thanks again, you guys, for showing up.
Thank you for the question. I got a question for you already.
Uh-oh. Woohoo! Dang it, I don't get to see it. What? Surprise questions. All right. Perfect. You guys are very, 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 very welcome. And thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing your real selves and all your questions. It makes it fun. Oh, good. Okay, and I get that question for you next week. Woohoo!
Yes, yeah, that's exactly it. We talk a lot, but you probably don't know all that much about us. So that we figured, we would interview each other. So thank you for being here. See you tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel.
Bye. Bye.